everybody, and welcome to the second video of the Be Brilliant in Bucks series. This is another video of two drawings these ones are going to be aimed at the guides and rangers, so for the older girls, but that doesn't mean you younger girls can't have a go. Of course you can. Now, I don't know if any of you have seen this. This is a mandala that I designed that you can download and colour with the Be Brilliant in Bucks activities. So what I thought we would do today as our drawing is we would have a go at making our own mandala. They look really complicated, but they're really not. Okay, so a lot of you girls, I know a lot of you girls will be in secondary school already, and so many of you will have one of these. This is a compass, okay? This is all you need to be able to do a mandala. A compass and a pencil, essentially. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a start, and all we're going to do is we're going to open the compass, make a hole in the middle of the page, and do our biggest circle that's available to us. So that's as big as our mandala is going to be. Now I'm working on A5 paper, so mine's not going to be very big, but it's going to be big enough to show you guys how to make one. Then you just start making your compass slightly smaller. A little bit at a time. You can do all different widths of circles. So you can see I've got a bigger one and a smaller one. And you don't have to have a plan for any of this stuff. You can just make it up as you go along, and that's why I love to make them. I just think they're really fun and they're nice to colour, and you can do so many cool things with them. So I'm just making my circles, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Keeping going. And let's see if I can get a tiny one in there. They're always quite difficult to do. There we go. So that is all of my circles. We're practically halfway there. Now, to start a mandala, I always recommend starting in the middle and then moving outwards. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm just going to draw a flower. It's probably going to have 6 petals. So I'm going to do the first 3 and then fill in the gaps. Now they don't all have to be perfectly the same, and I think that's what makes hand-drawn mandalas so much nicer than the ones that you can get in colouring books, because everything does look different. You can see that it's hand-drawn. We can always put the little lines in the petals. And then you have to think of, okay, so what am I going to do with the next round? And by the next round, I mean the next circle. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to bump all the way around. Join me when we get back to the top. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rub these ones out because these ones look smaller than the others. So I'm just going to make them a bit bigger. Now, like I say, stuff doesn't have to be exact, but close enough is fine. Then what I thought I'd do is in amongst each, like let's call these mini petals, is just to do a little shape like that. It's kind of like a triangle with all bent sides, and I'm going to do that in amongst all of them. So you can see where the mini petals meet the inner ring. I'm going to do that all the way around. Join me when we've done that one. There we go. Now what I think I'm going to do is each one of these little triangle things, starting at each triangle, I'm going to do a big, going over 2 lines, petal shape like that. And I'm going to do that for all of them. And then we'll decide what we're going to do after that. So let's go all the way around and do those. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to rub out the lines in each petal because I don't want those lines in there. So let's go round. While I'm doing that, I'm going to have a think about what I'm going to do within each petal. Well, not petal, these aren't petals, we call these leaves. So we could just make them look leaf-like. Or we could make them look like flames and put an inner in each one. I quite like that actually, so let's do that. I'm going to put an inner in each one. Round we go again. So you can see our mandala is building nicely. What I'm going to do now is in the gap in between each flame, I'm going to put a big circle there and a bigger circle there and then a tiny one in the middle. So we're going to do circles to sort of fill the space like that. Let's do that all the way around. There we go. I think this is starting to look really effective. So what we're going to do now is we're going to, using the points of the flames, is we're going to go up to the line and back down. I'm going to do that all the way around, up to the line and back down. So as you can see, some of these bumps are going to be bigger than others, but it really doesn't matter because you don't notice it massively when you are when you have the whole mandala. So up and down all the way around. Now what we're going to do is between each of these we're going to do a small arc. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to do that between each one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go round again. Okay, so now what we're going to do is inside each of these bigger petals we're going to do a line that follows the same shape, but it just sort of gives it a border. And then inside there, we're going to do stripes. And we're going to do that, guess what? All the way around. Okay, so now before we decide what we're going to do in the next stage out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way around in here with small bumps. So this is going to take a little bit of time, so take your time. And if you get some that don't quite hit the top, that's fine. Just go over them again. So let's go all the way around. Try and keep them the same size. Now it's probably going to be easier for you guys because you can move your paper. I've kept my paper taped down simply because it makes it easier for making videos if the paper doesn't move around all the time. So I'm just going to go and take my time and go all the way around. And I'll see you guys in a couple of seconds. And we're back again, trying to decide what to do next. We definitely need to start filling in this gap here. So I think where we did the little rainbows in between each of these larger petals, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same sort of shape as this, but it's just going to be wider. Like that. Okay, so let's see if we can do that. Notice there's not a point at the bottom. Okay, let's do that. Let's go all the way around. The next thing we're going to do is over the top of each of these bumps, each of these leaves, we're going to go bump, 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 bump. We're just going to fit in as many as fit in, because there might be more that fit in on some of them than others, and that's fine. So let's do that with our favourite phrase all the way round. The next thing we're going to do is we've got these little petals now, and coming from the side of them we're going to follow the line and we're going to do a swirl, and we're going to do one going one way and one going the other way, and we're going to do that, guess what, all the way round. We're nearly there. So in these leaves, or these, well, not flames this time, let's call them leaves, I'm going to put a line in each one, and then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to do that in every one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's do that. Okay, I just had to take a little minute there because I was trying to work out how we were going to finish this off, and I quite like this design. So what it is you choose an area sort of in between the swirl that we did here and the leaf that we did here, and you curve up to a point that's above the centre of the swirl, and then you go back down on the other side. Okay, once you've done that, you can give it a border. Put stripes all through the border. And I know it sticks out a bit over the outside, but that is fine, because I think that's going to look quite nice to finish off our mandala if it's got like an unbalanced edge. So, you know what I'm going to say? Let's do that all the way around the outside. And don't worry about if they're not even. Doesn't matter if they're not perfect. This is your mandala. Okay, so don't get stressed, because that defeats the objects of mandalas. You just need to keep working on them. So here we go with the next one, up to the point. Do the stripes. And then the circle with the 2 smaller circles. Okay, we can do this. Last bit, I think, now, guys. So what we're going to do now is just between each of the these last bits we put on, I'm going to make this just as what, you know, so it's got like a little rim, and then in there, in that space, I'm just going to follow the lines, but just make it smaller. Okay, so let's do that again on this side. So we're going to make it a little bit of a nice thick ridge end, and then we're just going to follow the shape, and that is the last thing we're going to do. Okay, let's go. And there we go, there's your mandala. Now I think that looks pretty nice. I know that many of you will be like, oh yes, I'm going to colour that now. However, before you do, and this can be one of the most tedious things, I would always recommend getting a black pen and outlining the whole thing. Now, I know it's really tedious, but I will show you mine when mine is finished, and then you can choose if you want to do it or not, or if you want to hop straight into the colouring. I know sometimes when you've drawn something like this, you can think, oh yes, I want to colour it. which is nothing wrong with that at all. You drew it. However, you will get a much better result if you outline the whole thing. Now, you don't need to have a drawing pen. You could do it in biro. You could do it in any pens that you might use at school. That's absolutely fine. But have a go. Because if you colour it now, if you use pens or if you use pencils on this, number one, a lot of this will all smudge, and it'll mix in with the pencils and the pens, and you won't get such a bright effect. Whereas if you do the outlining and then you rub out all the pencil lines, you will get a much better effect. So I'm going to carry on doing this, and I will show you when it's all done. And then you can make your decision about whether you're going to outline yours. Okay? So here we are, guys. This is what it looks like after you've been round the outline of everything with a black pen. I think it looks great. It's one of the most relaxing things that I find I can do in my spare time, is to just draw mandalas. They're so easy to do. And if you need inspiration for how you can fill in each of the small sections, you can just have a look online. It's not a good idea to try and copy somebody else's mandala, because trying to fit everything in, you just need to go with the flow. And this is what you can end up with. So now it's just time for the best bit, which you can do all by yourselves, which is the colouring. So enjoy. There's going to be another video after this one with another drawing, which is a bit more of a cartoony one. Okay, so I hope you can join me with that one, and I will see you all again soon. Hello guys, and welcome to another drawing session. So this is a continuation of the drawings for Guides and Rangers, and what we're going to do today is we are going to draw a unicorn. We might put some other things on him as well. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes. So to start with, all you need is a pencil, a rubber, some coloured pens, and a black pen. Okay, so let's make a start. You don't have to use pens. You can, if you want to, just use coloured pencils. Whatever's going to work for you, whatever you happen to have in your house is fine. So here I have my piece of paper. I've taped my piece of paper down simply because it means it doesn't move when I'm doing recording. You can tape yours down if you don't want yours to move. It's entirely up to you. So we're going to start this unicorn now. And what we're going to do is we're going to start in the middle of the page, and we're going to draw a slightly flattened circle. Lots of sketchy lines until you find the shape that you like. Okay, so there's my slightly flattened circle, and then on top of that I'm going to draw two arches, and these are going to be the eyes. There we go. Now, what we're going to do at the moment is we're just kind of mapping out our unicorn, and we will add in details afterwards. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to draw up the sides of my unicorn's head, over the top, down the other side. Now, we might keep these lines, we might not. It all depends on how the drawing goes. Next, let's do the horn. So to do the horn, it's just a series of upside down arches, and they get smaller and smaller and smaller as you go up. So as you can see, I've got one here. This one's going to be slightly smaller. This one's going to be slightly smaller, and I'm just going to keep going. Maybe I'll do 5 and then just do a little circle on the top. So my unicorn horn is made up of 5 sections. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start putting some of the hair in, the mane. So I'm going to do one curl. Now all of these are, it's kind of like drawing leaves. So you curl down, you get to a point, and then you just go back up. And we're going to do that a few times. So I've got 2 there for like his fringe or her fringe. Obviously, you know, unicorns, boys or girls, your choice. Then I'm going to do one that comes out the side, maybe going down into her eye. And I'm going to do some more that come down the side. So I'm pressing slightly harder with my pencil here, just so that I can see what is going to be unicorn hair, and then I can rub out what isn't unicorn hair. Do you see? So let's carry on with putting some more unicorn hair on. I'm going to do one that comes out the side here, and that one can curve round. Straighten that up, and then maybe another curve there. I might do another one just up there. So now I'm going to work on some on this side, but I might want to keep this shape in this time, so I'm just going to do a unicorn hair that kind of fits in with the side of my unicorn's head. So I'm going to go up, round to the top, and then don't forget we need to have some of the fringe ones. Bit of a kick out to the side. Now don't forget, you can pause this video whenever you want to if you feel like you're falling a little bit behind. Not a problem at all. Now my unicorn is going to need ears. So we're going to do some pointy ears on the top. Try and make them about the same size. There we go. So now we're getting there with our unicorn head. I'm just rubbing out some of my unwanted lines, just like that. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work on the body. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to, there's 2 points on either side of the unicorn's face, and I'm going to mark one there, and I'm going to mark one there. I'll just make them bigger so you can see them. And those are my target marks. So that's how I measure to make sure they're fairly the same sort of distance from each side. So now I'm going to use those target marks to draw some body lines out to the side. What I'm going to do next is just to the left and then just to the right, in line with the top, with the bottom of this line, I'm just going to draw an oval shape. And this is going to be your unicorn's hoof. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just like that. And then I'm going to join this line up to the top. Now this is your unicorn's back feet. Okay. So we've got the unicorn's back feet. The front feet are just going to be in front of him here. So I've put my 2 marks in, they're my target marks. And I'm going to go down, across, down, across. So try and make sure that these are fairly level and they match. And then I'm going to go up, up. We have to join the bottom part of each leg into the body, and don't forget to mark across the centre as well. So here we have, make these a little bit longer. So here we have the basics of our unicorn. Unicorns also need a tail. So let's see if we can get a tail. Now the tail's going to come from behind it. It's going to come from about here. But we're just going to pretend we can't see that part of it. So we're just going to make it come from over here. And it's the same principle as when we were drawing the hair. You wiggle it down, you wiggle it back up. So we've wiggled this piece of hair out. And we're going to wiggle it back. The reason we do the hair like this is it's quite sculptural, and for cartoons it's perfectly fine. If we went with individual strands it would be far too busy for a cartoon, but this just gives us the opportunity to add more colour and just to make the tail a little bit more interesting. So I've got 3 strands there. I'm going to do one more. That's just going to come out of the middle. And there is the basics of our unicorn. Now, I'm just going to rub out these target marks because we're going to add some details to the face now. So, inside each of the arches for the eye, we're going to do another arch. And another one. Now, if you want to have Japanese kawaii eyes, you would need to put 2 circles in them. And that's going to be the shine. Now, if you happen to have like a white gel pen or a white Posca pen or a Tipex pen, a correction pen, that is where this can be really handy, because if you make a mistake and you don't manage to leave these white, you can go over the top of them. You can even do it with acrylic paint. Okay, so there's options. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to just add a little bit of stitching as if our unicorn is made as a toy and is a bit wrinkled. So we're going to add that bit in there. We need nostrils. And then we'll put a mouth on. But there's options for the mouth. You could do a smiley mouth. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a slightly nervous mouth, which is just wiggly. And I'll show you why in a few minutes. Now, I've just noticed that on this side, I've only got 2 bits of hair and the other side's got 3, but I also want to do one that's flicking out there just to even up that side. This is one of those things that you just do all the time when you draw, is you just keep adjusting. So when we're drawing the hooves, we're going to add an extra curve round just so that we can colour in the hooves a different colour. Okay? And we're going to get rid of the lines that we don't want here. Now, I'm just using the rubber that's on the end of my pencil, but we can just use other normal ones. That's fine. A rubber is a rubber. So, and then we're going to make little hooves there as well. So this is the basics of our unicorn. Now, sometimes what I would suggest is that you go over all of the lines with black pen before you colour in, but it depends what you're using to colour with. If you're using pens, I would colour in first and do the black lines afterwards. If you're painting, I would do the painting first and do the black lines afterwards. If, however, you're using pencils, you could do the black lines first. So I'm using pens today, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some colouring, maybe add some more bits of detail, and then I'm going to do the black lines. Okay? So let's start. With a drawing like this, I always think it looks really effective if you just use 3 colours. So I've got a nice turquoise, come in handy for rangers, a nice blue, come in handy for guides, and pink, because, you know, we're girls. So I'm going to start with the pink. I think what I'm going to do Let me just get a piece of paper here to keep as a test piece for my pens. There we go. So I'm going to colour in the nose first. Now the pens that I'm using, these are called Posca pens, and these actually have paint in them. So they're really good for this sort of drawing, but it's one of those things that you don't need to have. You can just use normal colouring pens, but I just really like Posca pens at the moment, so I thought I'd use them today. So I'm going to colour in all of the nose, snout, or whatever we're going to call it. Here we go. Now obviously I'm going to try and do this quite quickly, so if you think it's a bit messy, that's fine. I agree with you, it is. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour strands of hair that are pink as well, but I'm going to try not to colour anything pink that's going to touch anything else, if you see what I mean. So it's like I wouldn't do this one pink because it's going to touch the snout and we don't want that. So that one's not going to be pink, this one's not going to be pink, but this one can be. So I'm going to do that one in there. I'm also going to do a couple up here, so I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do this one. And I think I'll leave it there. The other thing I'm going to do pink is I'm going to do the hooves pink. Now sometimes when you're colouring, you don't necessarily get really good colours because you're picking up the pencil. And that's okay, because what you can do is once you've let everything dry, is you can just go over it again. But you must let it dry. If you try and colour a second coat over the top of wet pen or wet paint, you'll start to rip the paper. So here's some more hooves. And then I've got to do one more bit of pink, which is I'm going to do some of the tail pink. So I'm going to do this one here because it's not really touching that hoof. So let's go from there. Now I'm going to get another colour. Oh, I forgot to do any bits on the horn, so I'm going to do that here. I'm going to do that one, and I'm going to do the one on the top. My unicorn's actually going to be white, so we're not going to worry about that too much. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same sort of principle, but I'm just going to use the green pen. So join me again once I've done all of the green. So there we go, guys. That's all of the green done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm just going to go through and I'm going to colour in some of the blue parts. Okay, so I'll be back with you in just a minute. So that's all the colours done now. And what I'm going to start doing is I'm just going to colour in the eyes with the black. And that's going to be the start of my going around everything with a black pen. So I'm just going to keep you with me while I just do the eyes. And then we'll go round everything in black. So as you can see, I'm just outlining first, going round the circle, and then colouring in the other stuff. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go round everything with my black pen, just like this. Going over those pencil lines. So join me when we've done it. There we go. It's got all of the outlines now. So now what I would suggest that we do is we add some more details. So in each piece of hair, I'm just going to add a couple of lines. Now they don't always have to go all the way from the top to the bottom. They can just fade off. Or you could just add them in, and it just makes the all of the hair parts look more like different strands of hair. different strands of mane. So go ahead and add lots of lines with your black pen in the hair. Don't forget the tail. So now we've got lots of extra lines in the unicorn's hair. We're going to add some more details. In each hoof, we're going to draw a horseshoe shape. And the same on this side. And these little details, they just add a little bit more and make your drawing come to life a little bit more. So also what we're going to do is on the inside of the arms, we're just going to make it look like he's a little bit tubby. And he's got his pushed in and it's all squished his body up. And then we're also going to add some lines to suggest that these hooves are in a little bit of shadow. Now, when I originally designed this character, I've got a fairly strange mind, but I originally made him as a farting unicorn. So I'm going to show you how to add those bits on now. You don't have to add them if you don't want to. You can leave him as just a unicorn. Okay, before we do that, I'm just going to put some eyelashes. Little flicks up. Don't need too many, just a suggestion. So, I'm going to draw little clouds. Now, as you can see, I've just taken the liberty of drawing these in pen. But I would suggest that you draw yours in pencil. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, maybe another one. 4. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour these in a really bright green colour, because this unicorn is stinky. So join me once I've coloured them in. Now, as you can see, that's quite a gross colour. So I'm just going to improve my outline. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a couple of little marks into each cloud, just to make it look a little bit more 3D. Just like that. Just improve the outline. I'm also going to add some movement marks. Now, movement marks, you don't need a lot, but it just suggests that these clouds of noxious gas are moving. They're moving upwards. There we go. And the last thing I'm going to do, actually it's not the last thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to add a noise to my drawing. Now, I like the word PARP. Let me just get a thicker black pen. Now, you don't have to use a thicker black pen. You can just use whatever pen you've got, but I'm going to use this thicker one. So I'm going to make the word PARP. Now, I'm going to do it all in capitals, but they're all going to be different sizes. Here we go. So this is a really good lettering technique, because you don't have to worry about being too neat, because everything is different sizes. Now, my word PARP is going to have lots of R's in it, I have decided. And now I'm going to do a P just here with an exclamation point. Now, you guys can always draw all of this stuff on first, okay? It's just, I've done this a lot, so I don't necessarily need to. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go round parts of the writing with the same green that I used for the gas clouds. And I'm not going to do it everywhere, but it just makes it look a little bit more 3D and a bit more obvious, a bit more pronounced. I'm going to add movement lines again to make it look like it's making a noise. Maybe just one more over here. And then finally, at the moment, our unicorn looks like he's not really sat on anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw an outline of something he could be sat on. So it's just wiggly. It could be a puddle. It could be anything. While I colour that in, you guys have a go at doing some embellishments to your unicorn. I'll be back with you in just a moment. So there we go. There's my unicorn all complete. Now don't forget, you don't have to make him a farting unicorn. I just find it funny. So the last thing that we're going to do is, with every piece of artwork that you create, you should sign your artwork. So this is the signature I always use. It's just my initials. But you should always sign your artwork because it shows that you're proud of what you've created. Now, I really hope you've enjoyed your drawing sessions, and I'd love to see what you have created. So, be creative, have fun with it. What else could you add to your unicorn? What other things could you do to make your unicorn unique, just like you are? Have fun, girls. See you soon.